We have Dean Sharp and Mike Howe. Dean Sharp has over 40 years of public utility and public work experience, including construction, operations, management, and administration of public water and wastewater systems. He's been a certified water and wastewater operator for over 32 years, assists with TCEQ FMT, conducts project inspection for Texas Water Development Board funded projects, provides technical assistance, and conducts water system plan review, project management, and construction oversight. Mr. Sharp has been involved with developing the Texas AWWA high school training programs, SETH, for high school students to complete the basic water operations training course and acquire their Class D water operator licensing through TCEQ upon successful completion of the course and passing of the exam. Mike Howe is the retired executive director of Texas AWWA and continues to serve as one of the SETH project team leaders. He currently is the principal of Clearwater Communications and a nationally recognized expert instructor in risk communication. His previous work includes 10 years with the City of Austin Water and Wastewater Utility and the Austin City Manager's Office. In 2005, after Hurricane Katrina and Rita, Mike developed the Tex Warren Utility to Utility Mutual Aid Program that for 20 years remained ready to assist utilities in times of disaster. Please welcome Dean Sharp and Mike Howe.
You belong here.
Nous appartenez ici.
You belong here.
You belong here.
Yes, okay.
You pertenece aquí.
You belong here.
Good morning. Mike and I realize that we stand between you and lunch, but we have a very important message to share with you, something that we've been working on for a number of years now to develop and get implemented across the state of Texas. This morning we're going to talk to you some about growing and keeping your operators, primarily growing your operators this morning, and then we have a panel session at 1:30 this afternoon about operator retention. So just briefly, I've got a little over 42 years of experience, 32 years as a certified operator. As Lacey said, do work with the TCEQ FMT program, Water Development Board, and some other consulting opportunities. I do continue to sport the same hairstyle as my grandson, so there's that. Mike is, as you can see, he still has a lot of hair. And so we've had the opportunity to work together on the SETH project, and Mike, being the retired executive director of Texas Section AWWA, and with a media background that he has, is a very key team member to the group that we had that put together this program for high school students. And I'd like to mention also Elston Johnson was a key member of our group, as well as Daniel Nix, who is our current Texas Section AWWA Executive Director. But I also want to mention that the many people that you will see that were a part of this, that helped put together this training, and the faces that you'll see, this was all volunteer. None of us took a dime to help create this program. And one of the very interesting things, and I think most beneficial things too about this program, is it's free of charge to any school district in the state of Texas that wants to opt into this program. So what we know about workforce issues, well, our population in the state of Texas continues to grow by 1,358 people per day on average. And guess what? None of them are bringing water with them. And so what does that mean? That means we've got increased demand. And as our water supplies are continued to be taxed, they're continuing to be depleted. And so we've got to look for new resources. In some cases, those new resources are not the best choices, right? So that may mean that we've got to treat the water to make sure that it's safe for public consumption to a higher degree. So we've got a little more challenges there. We've got to have a little more knowledge in order to treat that water. We know that there's been a decline in the number of certified operators over the last decade. And many of our operators are in the same position I'm in. We're ready to retire. We want to opt out. So we've got the career operators that are retiring. We're losing experience, and we're also losing that system knowledge that our operators have of your system. And so we've got to look for ways in order to address that. So our opportunities to work in the water profession are not really consistently presented to our high school students. We've got a room full of water professionals here this morning. How many of you, when you were a junior or senior in high school, knew that you were going to pursue this career? There's one. That's the second person I know in the state of Texas that can honestly tell me that when they were in high school, they knew that they were going to go into a water profession. Think about that. And what does that tell you? It tells you that as utilities, we're not doing a good job of going out there and talking to these high school students and letting them know about all the things that we do. So we struggle to maintain staff. We struggle to attract operators, especially in our rural areas, because we have a limited workforce, right? I was talking to somebody earlier, and they said, one thing that I do when I go into Walmart, I ask these young people if they would want to go to work in the water system. And guess what? In some of these areas, if you've got a Buc-ee's or an H-E-B, that's who you're competing against for workforce. We got to do a better job of reaching out there. But we also have to do a better job of getting them trained. So there was no program exist to outreach to students and to train them for a water career. And then there was the previous barrier within the state itself where we couldn't hire potential employees under the age of 18 because they had to be 18 and they had to have that high school diploma or the equivalent in order to get their basic water certification, right? Well, all right, we needed solutions. What were some of the solutions? Well, we had an opportunity to say we can develop a high school program that meets this 22 hours of instruction, now that we've added resiliency to the course. But we said, hey, we got to have a course that's already approved through TCEQ that we can present to these students. And like many of us, we looked to TEKS. We partnered with TEKS, and they allowed us to use the basic water operations manual that most of us probably used. The Texas legislature also made some improvements through the TCEQ in creating the provisional Class D water license. Now a student that's a junior that may be 17 years of age is eligible to get this provisional Class D water license because we removed that age barrier. And so that provisional license is there for those underclassmen. Seniors, those that are about to graduate, can go ahead and go the traditional route and get their Class D. That's good for the 3 years. And then we worked with Texas Education Agency to get the Class D license approved as an industry-based certification. And when you say industry-based certification to a school district, especially to a CTE director, a Career Technology Education Director, their eyes light up. IBC is a thing to school districts. So how did we get here? Well, mentioned that I worked through the TCQ FMT program. And we had a request from a small rural water system that in the state of Texas, if you don't know this, there are actually slightly less than 100 public school systems that are their own public water system. There's nobody else to serve them, so they have to serve themselves. So this school district said, hey, we're small, we'd like to improve our enrollment at our school, and one thing, since we are our own public water system and we work with our community, is there a way that we might develop a high school training course? Okay, let's work on that. So with collaboration through Texas Department of Agriculture, they actually provided us 2 different grants to help put this training together. Obviously, we worked with TCEQ, TEKS, and the Texas Education Agency. And we said, okay, what curriculum are we going to use? Well, we quickly looked to TEKS and worked through a memo of understanding with them to be able to use their curriculum. And then it was, how do we develop and deliver this content to high schools all across the state of Texas? Well, one of the things that we learned during the COVID era was what? We can do a lot of things remotely, and we got better at it as we went along. So we said, one thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to develop this virtual training. And so that it can go in a classroom, it can fit within a typical classroom period, and a school teacher or someone with a school district that has no knowledge whatsoever of what we do on a day-to-day basis, they can deliver this and make sure that the kids go through the content. So another thing was, how do we keep the students' attention? And one of the things, Daniel Nix's wife was a school teacher. She retired, and she told us right off the bat, guys, you're not going to keep high school students' attention with a talking head up there for 45 minutes. It's not going to happen. They're going to be on their phone, or they're just going to be totally disconnected. So some of the things that we did, we said, well, we got to develop some brain breaks. We got to put some action in there. We got to take a moment and just say, okay, let's quit talking the technical stuff, and let's talk about some career opportunities within the water utility profession. Let's talk about how to develop your interview skills. We also threw in things like our Water Geek videos that are animated videos. We talked about construction of water systems. When we talked about taking a chlorine residual and a bacteriological sample. So we dropped all these things in there to try to keep the students' attention. But then we needed to determine, how do we attract these students to us? I'm going to turn this over to Mike.
So they turned to me and said, you know something about marketing, right? I came from a television background, used to try to actually convince customers of Austin Water that the utility was doing a great job for them. And actually the message I always tried to get utilities to understand was, even though you're the sole supplier of water, act like there's competition, all right? So I do have an understanding of marketing. So what we wanted to do was, we realized, and this is the wrong guy to be saying this, but we realized that students spent their life now watching screens, but they also were very discreet with what they did with it. So first thing we had to do was we had to teach them the essential service of water, because my own children grew up thinking, just like with the electric switch, the water was always there. And they didn't realize that things went wrong until after a hurricane or Winter Storm Uri when we went from a first world country to a third world country like that. There we go. All right. The point is that it's an essential service, but everybody grew up. So we had to make these high school students understand that this was a real career opportunity. We could bring you into this business in your local area, and you could become a water operator. And I want to ask, how many here are now in a management level position who started off as an operator years ago? There you go, all right? It's a career opportunity, and it pays well. And the other part that we've been trying to get across to these students is you don't have to go to college, you don't have to get into extraordinary debt, and you don't have to leave home. Somewhere within at least a 30 or 40-minute drive from your home is a water utility that's looking for operators. And it's a career opportunity, and it means something. It is an essential service. So the first thing we did is we got some of the approved TCEQ operators to come in, or trainers to come in, and we realized something. They literally all look like me, all right? The oldest guy on the block. So we went back to the folks at TCEQ and said, we have a real issue here. They're not going to listen to this guy trying to tell them what to do. We had to reach out, and as you saw in the opening video, we had to meet the needs of what these students understood or understand as the population they deal with. A very diverse group of people and people who understood water. So we got approval from TCEQ that we didn't have to use full certified operators as long as the people we used were under the control or under the management of certified operators or trainers. So in doing that, we were able to make a much more diverse group. If you'll look at them, that is a very diverse group. That one on the far right, that's Daniel Nix's bride, by the way, the former school teacher. She does customer service in the training, all right? But that group of people, that also gave us the opportunity to see how people did in the training, these various groups. There's a couple of folks there who are not trainers. We actually did screen tests, all right? We remotely had them do it, see if they could demonstrate to us that they could teach me. And by the way, I don't have an operator's license, all right? Wish I did. I could take this course and get one. But they had to teach me the course they wanted to do and see if I could understand what they were doing. That was their screen test. And once we got to that point, we brought them in and had them become trainers. So, as a side note, too, you have to understand, these folks who normally stand before a group like you and are training, they also had to have the ability to stand in front of a camera with a teleprompter with their slides on it and speak to these students as if they were in the room with them. And that's what you call breaking the wall. So we actually had to do that with all these instructors to see if they could not only communicate the information, but also get it across on a screen. They all did it, and they did a great job. And some of them are really remarkable that how good they were at actually talking through a camera to them. When we were doing the production of these, the other thing we were doing is we had people remotely on Zoom calls watching everything going on who were checking our work. I sat in the studio here in Austin as we were doing it, but Dean and Daniel and Elston and others were all watching the work, correcting things as we go. So when the videos were done, we knew we had done the best we could do in presenting not only the content, but in a great way to present it. So the reason why I'm saying this is the program is working out. It's successful. We're doing well with this, all right? So the other thing is that we did was when we were talking about the diversity, we came up, wanted to make sure we were reaching out to the students, not only, as Dean noted, not only teaching them the information, but making them understand what the career was like. So in marketing, what we did, we also went out to a whole group of people that we thought could be helpful. We reached out to the FFA program, who, by the way, were doing training on water around the state. Anyway, we've been trying to work with them for years and have done programs. We also the instructors for the agricultural group. We went to conferences. The video you saw at the top, we would use that to promote what's going on. And then as something that Dean noted, we broke the sessions that normally, if you sat through that training, it'd be hours. We had to break them into 42 minute segments because that's how long a high school class is, all right? So this work has all been done. And one of the things, and if you go down to the booth downstairs, you can't see this up here. Instead of handing out materials to people that said, hey, go take a look at this, or, some piece of paper, we made a challenge coin with a code on the back. So they would put this in their pocket, the Seth coin, and they'd go back, and we actually had people go to the website. So we'll talk about that later. We want you to get there. But it was very successful. So what I want to do right now is, before we go any further, I want to show you another video about how we marketed to these students.
Water. It's essential to life on our planet. We depend on it in many ways. Every city, town, and household relies on clean, fresh water each and every day. But the journey it takes to be purified for our consumption is a process that does not happen automatically. The silent guardians of our community's lifeblood work tirelessly to ensure that every drop of water coming from your faucet is pure, safe, and accessible. Water is fundamental to our lives, and whether we know it or not, we all depend on the hard-working men and women in the water industry to keep us clean, healthy, and hydrated. You can make a difference. You can become a licensed water operator and be a hero to your community. Introducing Seth.
Hello, and welcome to Seth, the first ever high school training course designed for high school students to complete the basic Waterworks operations course. Seth stands for Science, Engineering, Technology, and Health, and as certified operators, we use Seth daily to ensure safe, clean drinking water is provided to the many homes, businesses, hospitals, and schools in our towns and surrounding areas to help protect the health and welfare of our citizens.
This 20-hour course will cover everything you need to know to become a licensed water operator.
What does a water utility operator have to do, and what are the requirements? What are the responsibilities of a water utility operator?
How are you acting on the job site? And what does the public see? Are you napping in your vehicle? I definitely hope not.
The truth is that every glass of water you drink is actually a glass of dinosaur pee. That's because the water on Earth has been around since the beginning of time and continuously cycles through the hydrologic cycle.
Reservoir destratification. These deeper lakes will tend to separate in temperature layers. It'll generally be 3 layers, a warmer, lighter, more oxygenated water at the top, with a transitional layer, and then your colder, denser, more anoxic zones being at the bottom.
Another way to look at water column in a visual perspective is 0.433 psi is the same as 1 foot of water column, and 1 psi is the same as 2.31 feet of water column.
Throughout this course, you'll hear from water operators who will demonstrate real-world applications and share their experience working in the water industry.
I think there is a multitude of reasons of why one would come work in the water industry. It is a very satisfying and fulfilling career to be in because you have the whole community depending on you for clean, safe drinking water. And to me, I get to go home at night and go to bed knowing that the whole community is taken care of because I did my job. There's really not a whole lot of negatives. You have to work, but is that any less satisfying than sitting behind a computer and staring at it for 8 hours a day? If you want to get outside, go outside. If you want to go sit inside and look at a computer, you can do that as well. So there's that range that just, there's really no reason not to be a plant operator. So there you go.
You belong here.
So I found it interesting that the young man there at the end of the video, his comment about he gets to go home at night and go to bed and know that his community's taken care of because he did his job. How many of you feel that way? It's amazing. You know, it's really amazing because I get to talk to people. I talk to people about this program all the time. So I have a lot of conversations. And one of the things that I hear very often is that I enjoy doing my job because I feel like I'm doing a service to my community. And I think that that says a lot about the type of people that are operators, that operate our water systems, and make sure that we are protecting the health and welfare of our community each and every day by providing safe, clean drinking water. So it takes special people to do that. So we got the program put together. We said, now we got to make sure that it works. So in June of 2024, we piloted it with the Pflugerville ISD, which, by the way, has a fantastic program, a wonderful model that they've developed with the assistance of the CTE director, Tracy Hendricks, and her husband, Dennis Hendricks, who is a operator. He will be one of our members on the panel this afternoon. And we said, you know, we'd like to pilot this there because we need to make sure that it's going to work. So under the watchful eye of TCEQ, who was there each and every day, making sure that the content was being delivered, and through enhancements with bringing in operators from local water systems, which is very important, by the way, which I'll touch on here in a minute. But we were successful in getting the program approved. We had 13 students complete it. We had 8 students that earned their Class D water license, and several of them immediately went into the workforce. And another was so encouraged that he decided he wanted to go to college and be a civil engineer. And I told that young man, I said, you know, Chris, you're going to be one of our best engineers because as a certified operator, you're going to understand what you're doing and what it takes to treat that water. So we launched it last November, so we haven't even had it out there for a full year. We had 10 school districts that enrolled, and some of them were the largest school districts, and some of them were some of the smallest rural districts. So it fits in every size of school district. We had 56 students complete the program, and 41 students had submitted their application to TCEQ to take that exam. And I want to reiterate something that I said earlier. I want to make sure that you understand that this training is available to any school district in the state of Texas free of charge. And we've shown that the program effectively demonstrates the diversity in our industry. Not only diversity in what we look like. If you look around this room, there's a lot of different looking faces. But the diversity in what we do day in and day out. Because, right, there's never a dull moment. We go out there and we know there's going to be a challenge. Yeah, we know there's this routine stuff about reading the meters and checking the chlorine residual and taking back T samples and all that kind of stuff. But then there's those challenges that come about that you go, well, I wasn't prepared for this today, but I guess I got to do it. We've already had some good results. There's increased interest in the program across the state. And as a matter of fact, other states have come to us and said, hey, could we use Seth in our state? And we said, well, don't know. Let's find out. We went back to TCEQ and TEEX, and they said, sure, why not? So we've generated interest not only in the state but nationwide. And we see, or continuing to see, better yields and different models. I mentioned the Pflugerville model. That Pflugerville model is a summer academy that the students take the first 4 weeks of June, right out of high school. They've just finished school. These students opt into this program. They wanted to do this. And so they come in and they go through the curriculum the first couple of weeks, And then they're doing field trips, and they're doing mock interviews, which really are not mock interviews. We tell the students they're mock interviews, but when the water systems that participate in this academy come in, it's a competition. It's like, I want that one, you stay away from that one. No, that one's mine. And so we are seeing that model is successful, but there's other models out there, and for your community, it may be a totally different model. But what we want to impress upon you is that this does work. It takes work. It takes work by you as a utility. Because remember, we said we're an aging workforce. We need more younger people in our workforce. We need to attract younger people. Well, it's going to take some effort on your part as a utility to make sure that they understand what we do on a day-to-day basis and go out there and give those opportunities to visit that water treatment plant or go out there and look at that well or, Lord forbid, go out to the wastewater plant. But you know what? That's where the light bulb goes off. Whenever they can see that dirty water come in and they see that clean water go out, they go, I got it now. This is really neat. I think I want to do this. But you've got to be there and you've got to participate. You've got to connect with your school district. Mike mentioned our little challenge coin with a QR code on the back. The QR code takes you to the Seth webpage and gives you everything you need to sign up and opt into this program. It walks you through our learning management system on how we manage those students and their progress and how many students have completed it successfully and when they're eligible then to apply to TCEQ and to take that exam. And so Texas Education Agency through the CTE programs does include the Class D water operator certification. There's a thing called PEAMS numbers that school districts use. That's where the TEA certifies these programs. We do have some PEAMS numbers that are tied to this program. Again, it's no cost to the school district, and the student can receive an industry-based certification credit. And the student, as well as the school, gets to receive that certification. And so I do want to clarify that there is a cost. The only cost is for the student to apply for that exam. TCEQ cannot waive those fees. They're a state agency. And so for the provisional, it's $74, and for the traditional Class D, it's the $111. But guess what? Most school districts have funding in their CTE programs to pay for these applications and to pay for these exam fees. That's what we've done in Pflugerville, and I know it's happening in other school districts in San Antonio and some of the others. Mike, did you have something to add?
Let me ask you a question. How many of you in your community know somebody with your school district? This is what we've discovered, all right? What we need you to do, and we'll talk about this, and Dean will mention this in a second, or I just will, we need you to connect with your school district. You as the utility, we need you to go to them and say, I need operators, we've got a program, let me give you this website, let's get you there, get you connected. Or find the person who does their CTE program. Ask the person you know how you can get to their CTE program. Because that's how this is going to work. And what comes from that is, if you can get those students being trained in your local high school, you've got bench strength coming out of your local high school who are students who are interested. They're going to get their license, and you can actually interview them before they graduate. You can make a determination as to which one. As Dean said, we've got utility folks who are monitoring the pilot projects going, I want that student. Leave him alone. Leave her alone, okay? I'm going to hire that person as soon as they get licensed. This works. We sat through the Pflugerville program in June, and it was remarkable just to see how smooth that was working. So that's the connection we need you to make as utility folks. Reach out to somebody in the school district and say, hey, I've got a program that's benefit to the entire community. I'll shut up now. Go ahead.
You're good, Mike. So One of the things that we want to make sure that you have contact information. Erica Billings she's the wonderful person that's like behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz type thing. She's the wonderful person that brings all this information together and makes sure that the students are being tracked correctly and make sure that the teachers have all the information that they need. So Erica, she's the one that we depend on a lot now that we've got the program launched. And very quickly, I think we have time for a few questions, but very quickly, here's their information. Here's my contact information, the Seth website on the TAWWA website, and again, Erica's information. And then just a shameless plug for this afternoon's panel discussion where we're going to talk about operator retention, talk about things like certification incentives, higher education incentives, flexible work schedule, cross-training, career path guidance, and apprenticeships. And apprenticeships or internships are very important to these young people. You as a utility, if you can create any type of something that could be considered an internship or an apprenticeship, and those students that may be, say, a junior going into their senior year, if they can work for you during that summer and maybe come back and work at every break, they're gaining experience. And you're beginning then to grow your own. And that's the whole point is, if we're going to attract students out of high school, we've got to do a better job of promoting ourselves and telling them, exposing them to what we do. Thank you for your time and your attention. I think we may have just a little bit of time for a few questions. And if not, I'll be around booth 90 downstairs, far right corner, way in the back. We do have the panel discussion at 1:30 at the Blue Bonnet Room, and then I'll be around all afternoon. But yes,
Dean, I got a couple of questions up there. So I've got a couple of questions before we go. So the first one I have here is, can you tell us, Dean, just on your opinion, pay for an operator at a mid to large range water system?
Yeah, so mentioned earlier, if you have a Buc-ee's or HEB, that's who you compete with for a workforce. You know, a lot of our mid, I'm going to address the mid-size systems now, starting operators at $21, $22 an hour. That's those without a certification. If we get a student out of high school that has their Class D certification, another poll here. Are you going to hire a student if he comes in and fills out an application and says, oh, by the way, I've already got my Class D certification? They go to the top of the list? Yeah, there you go. The benefit is we've already provided these students with some background and some training. They've got that certification. It's already a benefit to you as a utility. You don't have to incur that cost right off the bat.
So I've been a Texas teacher for 20 years, from elementary up through high school. And I've worked a lot with high school students that have dyslexia and other reading disabilities. Is TCEQ doing anything to work with their IEPs? Because the students who are most interested in this are very put off by having to take a high-stakes test as it is. They've already got a lot of high-stakes tests in their environment. Is TCEQ looking at oral administration, online content support, that type of stuff like they already have for the STAR?
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I do believe occupational licensing does allow or provide for an oral examination.
Yeah, that is true. And I'll tell you, a good place there's a couple of things you can do. The technical assistance room right here, we have representatives from occupational license there the entire time of the conference. And also they'll be giving a presentation, I think, this afternoon, and you can go into that class as well. But yeah, they do, we make everything accessible, okay? And I know that for a fact. But I would definitely go by the technical assistance room and sit down with them one-on-one on that one, okay? All right, the next question I have, is this program available for wastewater operators?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. Then, is there a list of facilities and schools participating in the program so we can find out if our ISD or water system is involved?
Good question, yes. On the website. Okay. You can make a connection. If you don't know what all school districts that you serve, you can go to the website and you can find out what all school districts you serve. And a school district can go on to the website and determine what water systems are in their school district. Okay. So we've made that connection.
And I know the answer to this next one, so keep that in your hand, okay? It says, how do we get a coin to hand out? There you go. So what do you got there?
I've got, I don't know how many of them downstairs.
Yeah, so where's your booth at? You're in the back?
My booth is at booth 90, and I walk around with these things, so.
Yeah. Okay, so that was one of the questions right there, but I think that was an online question. So if I was online today, if I was to email you, or how can I get one maybe?
Yeah, well, email us, send an email to Erica or something, we'll work something out.
Okay, so on the slide thing, so if you'll, while we're taking the question, back up to your contact information, we'll leave that up on the screen. I personally want to thank everyone for being here. I enjoyed doing this. I didn't raise my hand, but my scout leader worked for the Texas Water Commission, and I always thought that'd be a good place to work. And so at A&M, I got a degree in agriculture economics resources, and it was in line with the TNRCC at the time. So I guess I always wanted to work in water. And I love it when it rains. I'm one of those guys, when it rains, I go look and see. I mean, from a safe distance, but I like to always look at the creeks getting up and everything. That's just something I've always liked and everything.
You like my grandson, get out and play in the rain, dance in the puddles? Yeah.
So if you have any closing comments, did you bring your slide back to your email address
I
up
did.
there? Okay, so we'll share that one. If we'll switch over to that one, and then if you're, if you have anything to close, then Lacey.
Go ahead, Mike, then I'll close.
All right. One of the things we always ask when we're trying to market something, here's the ask. How many are going to go to the TAWWA.org website /Seth and get more information? Please. There's a form there. If you'll fill it out, it'll tell you what role what role you have. I'm a utility person. I can contact the school district, etc. And if you just do that, then Erica will follow up with you. There you go.
All right. Thank you, Mike. That's a very good point. And again, thank you all for attending this session. I have a little bit of a passion for this program. And so every opportunity I get to get in front of a group of people, it really encourages me that we have as many utilities that their heads are going like this when I'm up here talking. Yeah, that sounds good. We need something like this. So I appreciate your attention. I'd love to visit with you during the conference, so catch me when you can. Thank y'all.
All right, thanks so much again to our speakers, Dean Sharp, Mike Howe, Elson Johnson, and also Bob Rose. Thank you guys so much.